Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Sunday morning yoga. I'm Micki, as you know. I have a blanket for sitting, I have blocks. Uh, I have a chair, I have a strap. So feel free to start out in whatever position would feel comfortable for you. Maybe you want to come to lying on your back, and you could stamp your feet down on the mat. Allow your knees to rest in towards each other. And this pose is called constructive rest pose. You could bring your hands to rest on your belly if you want to feel the rise and fall of your breath. And just take a moment to arrive. Just like cleaning house, you might just notice how all of your thoughts from the past can sort of fade away. It's like sweeping up dust. You can just sweep them out. You might let all of your plans for the future wait. Let them rest on the calendar while you tune into the present moment, tuning into your body and your breath. Our theme for class today, we're on the third niyama. And that third niyama is called tapas, and it means self-discipline. So I'll read a little bit from the book, The Yamas and the Niyamas by Deborah Adele. She says, tapas literally means heat. It can be translated as catharsis, austerities, self-discipline, spiritual effort, change, tolerance, or transformation. Tapas has the sense of cooking ourselves in the fire of discipline to transform ourselves into something else. It is our determined effort to be someone of character and strength. Tapas eventually changes our nature, turning us into a cauldron that can withstand any of life's challenges. Tapas is the day-to-day choice to burn non-supportive habits of the body and mind, choosing to forsake momentary pleasures for future rewards. So if that idea of tapas speaks to you, you are welcome to set it as an intention today for your practice. Maybe just like she suggests in the book, you could think of it as a glowing jewel at your heart space. With your inhale breath, you might breathe into the jewel, letting it light your body. And with your exhale breath, practicing allowing it to deepen, soften, and fade. And then if you're ready to invite some movement into the body now, you might spread your arms out beside you in a letter T, just moving anything that's in your way off to the side. And you can start to allow the knees to gently float a little side to side. So this could be a soft, gentle movement, or maybe you take your time to allow the knees to fall as far as they'd like to go. You could sort of bring your spine and your neck into this movement by keeping your gaze either side. And the next time your knees float over to the left, go ahead and allow them to land there. Maybe reach your right arm long overhead, just to find length between your fingertips along the side of the body down towards your right, or is that, yeah, your right knee. Remembering that everything is optional. You're welcome to find whatever works for you in your body. And then we'll bring that arm back out to the side, float the knees back up to center, and then allow the knees to float over to the right this time. Maybe stretching the left arm overhead past the ear. And see about breathing down the side of the body here. Go ahead and take one more nice deep breath on this side. And then we'll bring it back to center. And you can hug your knees in towards your chest. Maybe tuck your hands behind your knees. And you might lift your nose up towards your knees. On the next exhale, gently set your head back down. Allow your knees to stay hovering over your hips. And then we'll bring the elbows to stack over the shoulders. And you might start to notice just a little bit of fire at your belly, at your core, pressing the low back towards the mat. You can stay right here, practicing the strength, or if you want to invite some movement, maybe you kick your right foot up towards the sky, kick your left hand up, and then we'll go ahead and bring that back to the starting position. We call this a dead bug pose. And then you can go ahead and stretch the left hand, right foot, or whatever the opposites are. You can keep going just like this, moving at the pace of your own breath. We call this place of our belly area the third chakra. So we have 7 energy centers in the body. And the third chakra is known as our solar plexus, or also think of it as our will. So we're strengthening that area. Take another nice deep breath at your own pace. And then when you're ready, you can land the feet, land the arms, take a nice long body stretch, reaching from the fingertips to the heels, stretching out through the belly. And then we could take a side bend here, lifting the arms to the left, maybe grabbing hold of the right wrist with the left hand. And then you could start to walk the feet and legs over to the left. So you might find a nice side bend all along the right. Allowing your breath to cascade down the side of the body. Take one more nice deep breath here. And then we'll stretch it back to center. Take a moment to pause and center, just noticing any differences from left to right. And then we can do the same thing on the other side. So lift the torso a little bit, stretch the arms to the right. Maybe you grab hold of the left wrist with the right hand. You can walk the legs over to the right as well. Finding a nice stretch all along the left side body this time. Take one more nice deep breath on this side, all the way from your fingertips down towards your heel. And then when you're ready, we'll come back to center, take a nice long body stretch. Once more, let's hug the knees in towards the chest, maybe lifting the head up towards the knees. And then you can set the head softly back down, stretch your arms into a letter T, and we're going to oscillate the knees a little bit side to side. So you can allow the knees to float to the right, hover them there, bring them back to center, and then hover them over towards the left. So you're just floating them side to side. You can kind of turn your palms face down for a little bit of support. And notice the work that your core body needs to do to help keep the legs lifted. If you want to make this a little bit more challenging, as the knees hover to the left, you might kick the right leg long. Little karate kick, maybe as the knees are hovering to the right, you could kick the left leg long. So basically the top foot. The next time your knees fall to the left, go ahead and land them there and enjoy a nice, satisfying twist. With your knees stacked, you could gaze over towards your right hand. Start to soften your breath, feeling the glide of your breath along the back of your throat. You might listen for that ocean-like sound. We call this ujjayi breathing, breathing in and out through the nose. When you're ready, we'll pick up the right hand, rainbow it over the body, so you're going to come onto your left side now. You might use a block to cradle your head, or you could also prop yourself up with your elbow, propping your elbow, your head on your hand. We're going to do some clamshells now to strengthen through our glutes. So you can glue the heels together. You might bring your top hand out in front, and we'll lift and lower the top knee a few times and feel that strengthening of the glutes and the hip. You might send your breath along with gratitude down into your hip. And feel free to take as many or as few of these clamshells as feels good to you. When you're ready to close down this action, you could bring your fist maybe to your outer hip, give it a little tap, a little massage, maybe down the side of the leg. And then we'll stretch the hip with a figure four. So you can roll onto your back. Now, I usually like to use support. So if you have some furniture, like I'm going to use the bed here, I'm going to bring my feet onto the bed or onto the wall for figure four. You can extend your left leg long, bring the right ankle onto the thigh, and then draw the shape into the body. And the reason why I like to use this against support is otherwise people will interlace their hands behind their thigh and then draw the shape in. But I feel like that's a lot of effort for my upper body. So if I can use any kind of support here, then my whole upper body and torso can soften and relax. Find any kind of adjustments that might feel good to you, maybe even some gentle rocking from side to side. You could flex your right toes towards your knee and sort of press that right knee away. See if you can send your breath along with gratitude down to the hip. And if you're loving this stretch, you can keep it right where it is. If you want to turn this into a twist, we already did a twist, but this is going to be a slightly different version. You could let the whole shape come down towards the ground, and maybe you grab hold of your right ankle with your left hand for a different sort of take on a twist. If you're grabbing hold of your ankle with your left hand, you might offer it a little gentle massage. I know that it can be little places of tenderness, interest. You can massage the ankle here. Take one more nice deep breath, and then we'll release that side. We're going to get ready for our clamshells and our twist on the other side. So I'll turn around so I can face you. Coming onto the back, you can hug the knees in towards the chest. Before we start our twist, let's do our knee hovers. So you can spread your arms out into a letter T, start to hover the knees to one side. Use the strength of your core to bring it back into center, and then go ahead and hover onto the other side. And we'll rock side to side like this a few times. You can incorporate that little bit of karate kick if you like. And then we're going to find our twists. So the next time your knees fall over to the right, go ahead and stack them over there. You can turn your gaze over towards your left hand. Just allow yourself to soften into your twist. Taking some soothing breaths. Allowing yourself to wring out any tension or holding in the body. With your next inhale, go ahead and float your left hand up and over the body, and then you can either prop your head up on your hand or find a block or another kind of pillow to support your head. We'll do our clamshells for our left hip, so you can glue the heels together. Inhale to lift the top knee, exhale to gently lower it down. Taking a few rounds of breath on this side. You might notice breath and gratitude for this hip. If you observe subtle differences from left to right, can you offer yourself curiosity and compassion? Take as many or as few as feels right for you and your body at your own pace. Whenever you need a rest, you can stop this movement. Go ahead and pause the movement when you're ready. We'll roll onto our backs and we're going to find our figure four shape. So you can do this with your foot on the mat, crossing your left ankle over your right thigh. Or if you want to use the support of furniture or the wall, you can stamp your right foot onto support, bring the left ankle to rest on the right thigh. Remember, you could also use the strength of your arm to pull the shape into the body, interlacing your hand behind your thigh if you like. Allow yourself some nice deep breaths here, maybe pressing that left thigh away or flexing the left toes towards the knee. We'll take one more nice deep breath here, or you can either stay in this position, or if you want to turn this into the twist, float the whole entire shape down towards the ground, maybe reaching your right hand to hug onto your left ankle. And maybe your fingertips can offer a little massage along the ankle bone or any places that might be tender on the foot. Take one more nice deep breath wherever you're at, and then we'll roll back onto the back, hug the knees into the chest, and either rock and roll up and down the length of the spine, or you can roll onto one side and press yourself up into a seat. I like to use the blanket here as a little seated cushion. So I'll fold the blanket. Actually, this is a pretty thick fold. And then bring your seat onto the blanket. Maybe that's a little bit too high, actually. But if you lift your hips in a seat, I can feel a little bit easier to find a cross-legged seated position. So find whatever feels comfortable for you, or move it to a chair if you like. We're going to start by just centering, allowing yourself to find like a seated mountain position, lengthening through the spine, finding a slight tuck in the chin, lifting the crown of your head up towards the sky. Take a moment to return to your heart space, your intention for your practice today. And then with your next exhale, you can allow just your head to bow towards your heart. Think about lengthening through the back of the neck. With your next inhale, you can float your right ear over towards your right shoulder. Allow your left shoulder to sink away. And we might pause here, maybe reaching the left hand out to the side, or you could wrap that hand behind you, allow it to rest on your low back. You might start to find just a little bit of gentle movement, maybe starting to nod the head yes. And then go ahead and pause that movement and start to gently shake the head no, lifting the chin away from the shoulder and then back towards the shoulder. When you're ready, find stillness and we'll lower the gaze back down towards the heart. Take a nice deep breath in center, and then we're going to find the other side, bringing the left ear over towards the left shoulder, letting the right shoulder fall away from the ear. Then you might stretch your fingertips out to the side maybe, or allow that hand to rest on the low back. And we'll start with our head nods, gently nodding the head yes. Moving slowly and intentionally finding that any areas of tension on the side of the neck. And then find stillness, and you can find your no nods, drawing the chin towards the shoulder, and then lifting it diagonally. Any kind of movement that feels intuitive, stretching through the side of the neck. When you're ready, find stillness. Allow the head to once more bow towards the heart. And then we'll roll the shoulders up and back. As you lift the gaze to center, you can move into the shoulders now, drawing them up towards the ears, rounding them back and down. Maybe you want to toggle one shoulder at a time. And then when you're ready, we'll come back to center. We're going to start to stretch through the spine, and you can do this either seated or on hands and knees. And you might try either one just to see what works best for you. So if you want to stay off of the knees, you can stay seated. Inhale to lift the torso forward, lifting the heart, and then exhale to round into the spine. Feel free to stay right there for your cat and cow shape, or if you'd like to come onto hands and knees, you could always use a blanket and maybe unfold the blanket to make a little bit of padding. And then here we can inhale to drop the belly, lift the heart forward through the biceps, and then exhale to round the spine, coming into cow or cat pose. Take a few rounds of breath in your cat and cow. Moving at your own pace. It might feel good to find some other movements, maybe some big circles with the belly button. Imagine you're tracing the inside of a hula hoop. After a few rounds in one direction, you can go ahead and reverse the direction of your circles. Allowing yourself a moment to pause if there's any places that feel particularly interesting. And you could also find some tail wags, and then your hip towards your shoulder. And then we'll come back to neutral, and you can either find child's pose or come to lay flat on the belly if it doesn't feel good to be on the knees. So you might open the knees out wide, bring the big toes to touch, sink the hips back, walk the hands out in front, and lower your forehead down to the mat. Allowing your heart to melt forward. Take some nice deep breaths. Take one more nice deep breath here. And then we'll come up onto the forearms, and you can stretch the left leg back behind you. You can also do this on the palms. I was just thinking with the forearms, you might give your wrists a little break. We're finding a stretch through the back of the heel, maybe through the calf. Take one more nice deep breath here, and we'll switch sides, extending the opposite leg back, tucking the toes under, pressing the heel towards the mat. Take one more nice deep breath down the back of the leg. And then from here, we're going to try playing around with some plank just to build a little bit more heat. Thinking about our tapas, our theme for class. So I'm going to move the blanket off to the side, but it could be nice to have it underneath the knees. So I'm going to come into a forearm plank, walking the forearms forward, walking the knees back so that the belly is hovering over the earth. And you might feel a little bit of tremble, a little bit of heat. You could tuck the toes under and lift one knee or both knees, or stay on the knees. And at any time that you need a rest, lower the belly onto the mat. And we will eventually land here in our Sphinx pose. With the elbows stacked underneath the shoulders, you can press into the mat with your hands and lift the heart forward. This might feel like a nice back bend here. We're going to come in and out of a pouncing sphinx. So for this, it's basically like coming in and out of that forearm plank that we were just doing. So you can keep yourself here in in sphinx. And then when you're ready, you might tuck the toes under and then use the strength of your belly to lift your belly up to hover. And you could lift the knees so that you're on the tips of the toes. And then when you need a rest, you're coming down into your sphinx. And remembering that all of this is optional. Another option would be just to come to lie on the belly with your forehead resting on your stacked palms. But if you want to do one more pouncing sphinx, you could tuck the toes under, use the strength of your belly to lift your belly up any amount to hover. You can hold here with a few rounds of breath, finding a little bit of tremble, just feeling like you're building some heat. Whenever you're ready, you can release that, untuck your toes, and we'll all meet up in crocodile pose, Makrasana. So you can stack your palms, or even if you need more space or want to build the earth up to you, you could stack your fists and allow your forehead to either rest on top of your stacked fists or your stacked palms. It might feel good to bend the knees and allow the heels to sway a little bit side to side. And then when you're ready, you can come back to stillness. We'll slide the palms underneath the shoulders now. Roll the shoulders up and down the back as you lift the heart for a baby cobra. On your next exhale, allow your head to turn and either rest your right temple on the mat or your forehead. Then we'll glide the shoulders up and back, lifting the heart for another baby cobra. On your exhale, you can turn your gaze to the right this time, allowing your left temple to come and rest on the mat. And you're welcome to find these baby cobras a few more times, using the strength of your spine, your upper back, and then turning your head, resting your temple. Let's take one more baby cobra. And then when you're ready, we'll lift the head, plant the palms, tuck the toes under. You can press up through tabletop. And maybe you want to take a downward facing dog. So for a supported downward dog, you could use your blocks if you have them and step them out in front, maybe so that the heel of your hand is on the block. And then you could tuck your toes under, lift your knees, maybe walk your feet in a little ways, and you could sashay your hips a little side to side, pedaling your heels. When you're ready, we can walk our hands to our feet or feet to your hands. You might bring your blocks onto the high setting or plant your palm on your shins. We'll press into whatever support you're using and then lengthen the spine as you lift up halfway. Exhale to forward fold. Inhale for halfway lift. Exhale to forward fold. And one more time. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. That means halfway lift with a flat back, keeping your gaze towards the ground, length through the back of your neck and your spine. And then exhale, Uttanasana, forward fold. Let's take a moment to heel toe the feet out a little bit wider to make room for your generous belly. And then you can wrap your hands around your opposite elbows and just allow yourself to sway side to side in kind of a rag doll. Take one more nice deep breath here, and then we'll release the hands back down. You can heel toe your feet a little bit closer now, and then find a micro bend in your knees, spring load your legs, use the strength of your legs to press your torso up to stand. You can draw your hands up and overhead and then invite them to meet at your heart center. We'll find ourselves next in our Tadasana mountain pose. With your palms at your sides, take a moment to close down your eyes. And once more, feel into your heart center, that glowing jewel, your intention for your practice today. When you're ready, you can blink your eyes open, and we're going to find chair pose. And you could literally do this sitting on a chair if you like as well. You can bring your hands to meet at your heart, start to bend your knees, sink your hips back as if you're going to sit in a chair. There's a chair maybe right behind you, and you're going to sit back. So as low or deep as feels good to you. You could keep your hands here at your heart. You could plant them on your thighs for support, or you could swim them up past your ears. So many different options. When you're ready, we'll lengthen through the legs, bring the hands towards your hips, and then start to lift on to the balls of your toes. So you're lifting your heels. Maybe I'll do it from the side. So you can see my heels are lifting. And we'll try this a few more times. So sink your hips back or your heels back. Come into your chair. We call this Utkatasana or fierce pose. And then we'll lift up into bird pose, lifting on the balls of the toes. Let's do this one more time. Chair or fierce pose. And then lifting up into bird. Any amount. And when you're ready, we'll come back to Tadasana, mountain pose. Take a nice deep breath here. Feel the rhythm of your heartbeat, maybe resting your palms on your heart. You might have found a little bit of heat there. Next, we're going to keep building a little bit of heat with some half sun salutes or half sun salutations. So for this, you'll inhale, sweep the arms up towards the sky. Exhale, swim the hands out to the side as you lean your torso forward, swan diving forward. Plant your palms either on blocks or shins. We'll inhale for halfway lift. Exhale to forward fold. Inhale, sweep the arms up towards the sky. Upward salute. Exhale, draw the hands to the heart center. So let's take a few rounds of these half sun salutations at your own pace. Thinking about building a little bit of heat, saluting the sun. See if you can follow the pace of your own breath. Go ahead and take one more nice deep breath, or one more round, I should say, at your own pace. So it won't be just one deep breath. When you're ready, we'll meet back up in our Tadasana, mountain pose. And then when you're ready, we'll step our feet out wide to the sides, and you can point your toes towards the corners of your mat. We'll keep the legs long, and then shine your arms out to the side to come into a 5-pointed star. Once more, return to your intention at your heart space. With your inhale breath, imagine those rays shooting out from your glowing intention out through your feet, your arms, taking up all the space that you might need. With your next exhale, we're going to bend the elbows, bend into the knees, coming into a squat, a goddess squat. And then let's do that 2 more times. Inhale, grow it out into a 5-pointed star. Find the right angle for your toes and your knees to come down into your goddess squat. Inhale and exhale. Come into the goddess squat. We'll stay here for a few rounds of breath. And if you like, you can bring your hands onto your thighs and lean one shoulder towards your knee at a time. Coming into a little twist. Then we'll come back to upright, heel toe your feet in back underneath your hips. And let's try to work on a standing balance. So I think the standing balance pose we'll do today is eagle pose. It's called Garudasana, and we can do several different variations, pausing at any moment along the way. So we're going to reach the arms out wide to the side, bring the right arm over the top of the left, give yourself a nice big hug, and maybe you rock your elbows a little side to side. Giving yourself a loving embrace. Can you sense gratitude at your heart? Carving out this special time and place for yourself. And then you can stay right here with your arms in a hug, or you might wrap your arms into eagle arms. We call these eagle arms, with wrapping the forearms, hooking your left arm onto your right hand. And then you could come back into Utkatasana, the chair, bending the knees, sinking the hips back, using the strength of your core here. Or if you want to work on balance, you can send your weight into your right leg, peel your left heel off of the mat, and then maybe you wrap that foot around, or you could just even maybe rest one foot on top of the other. Find a soft, gentle focal point. We call this a dristi. And you're really just working on balance, working on your strength to stand on one foot. Take a nice deep breath here. When you're ready, we'll unwrap the arms, step the feet out, and shake it all off, allowing your arms to gently graze your sides. Maybe a nice stretch for the spine, a little twist. You can just kind of allow your arms to give you a gentle massage, maybe falling against your back. And then let's wring it out. We'll come back to center, standing in our mountain pose. This time we'll stretch the arms out wide to the sides. And we're going to bring, let's see, the left arm this time on top of the right. I'll step back so you can see my face a little bit better. Give yourself a nice big hug. Maybe this time you want to send that hug out to someone special. You could rock your elbows a little side to side. Sending out that loving kindness from your heart center. Now you could stay right here with your arms hugging onto your shoulders, or this time you could wrap your arms into eagle arms. You could sink back into a chair for strength, or you might try wrapping, giving your weight into your left leg, peeling your right heel off of the mat. You could wrap that right leg around the left, or maybe even just step the right foot on top of the left foot. Find a gentle gaze point, a fixed place on the ground or at the horizon. We call this a dristi. And this focal point can help with balance. For Garudasana, eagle pose. See about drawing your belly button a little bit in towards your spine to offer strength and support to the back. Then when you're ready, we'll unwind the arms, fly your eagle arms wide, step your feet out, and shake it all off. Allowing your arms to gently graze your sides. Nice twist for the spine. Maybe a little massage for the adrenals, sitting right on top of the kidneys. And when you're ready, we'll bring it back to center, step the feet together. And then we're going to come into a little bit of a lunge. So you can keep it as a high lunge. I'm going to bring my blocks to frame my right foot. You could stay upright, or if it feels okay, you could land the left knee on the ground. And this would be a little bit more of a stable shape, but maybe you don't want to be on the knee, so you could keep the knee lifted if you like. We could bring the hands to meet at the heart or at the hips, or lift the arms upward towards the sky, lifting the heart. And either place you're in, you could float your arms down to blocks. And if you were on the knee, what we're going to do is floss it forward and back. So I'm just kind of heel toeing my foot upwards. This is called a half split, keeping just a micro bend in the knee, but lengthening through that front leg. And you can kind of lean forward and lean back. And if you're off of the knee, this could also still work the same way. Bending into your lunge and then lengthening the front foot. Either lifting the toes if that feels okay, or keeping the toes down on the ground might be a little bit different. If you're on the knee, go ahead and walk the right foot out to the side. Bring both knees back, and then we'll come on to the opposite side for our lunge. And I'll just show, in case if you're wanting this to be upright, you could be in the lunge with your back toes lifted, oscillating a little forward and back, lengthening the front leg, and then stretching it long. Okay, wherever you are, if you want to land the back knee, you can, or however you want to get down to your seat. So I'm going to bring both knees back and down, and then come onto the seat, bringing the knees around in front. You can keep the knees lifted towards the sky. You could hug behind the thighs and then start to lean the torso back, finding some strength and heat in the core. Maybe you lift the shins for more challenge, or you could keep your feet on the ground, release the arms for more challenge, coming into a boat pose. So whatever version of Navasana boat pose works for you. Whenever you're ready, we'll hug the knees into the chest, come onto the back body. Maybe you give yourself a little hug, or you might start to draw some circles with the knees. Circling the knees in one direction, massaging the low back, and then massaging in the other direction. Take your time. Breathe into the sacrum area, the low back. This is our second chakra, and they say it's our seat of emotions, creativity. When you're ready, you can land the feet, and then we'll bring the arms right next to the hips. With your next inhale breath, float the arms up and overhead. Reach the fingertips past the ears. Open through the heart center, the upper back. Exhale to lower the hands back down towards the hips. We'll plant the palms, and then you can start to lift the hips up into bridge. On your next exhale, allow the spine to roll back down. And then take a few rounds oscillating between the arms, lifting, inhale to rainbow them up and overhead. Exhale to lower them back down. Press into the palms and maybe the heels as you lift the hips for bridge, using the strength of your glutes. Exhale to lower, and take your time to move through these two shapes. The next time you lift up into your bridge shape, you can stay here for a few rounds of breath. So maybe you find an active bridge by rolling up into your bridge and then scooching your elbows and your shoulders underneath the body. And you might interlace your hands behind you. We call this a bind. Or you could slide a block underneath your sacrum and come into a supported bridge. If you end up coming into a supported bridge and you want to make this a gentle inversion, you could lift both legs up towards the sky. Of course, you can do this without your low back on a block if it feels too tender. And if you had a wall space, you could even move this to the wall or drape your legs onto a couch for a gentle inversion. We call that legs up the wall. And you could also do that with the seat of a chair. Maybe it's a good idea at this time to find that bit of gentle inversion. So I'll show what that could look like with a chair. You could easily use a couch for this. Since the chair is cold and it has a metal seat, I'll put a pillow or a blanket rather on the seat of the chair, and then I'll shimmy my body right up to the edge of the chair, draping my legs over the chair and come into a nice gentle inversion. If I had a wall space handy, I could just bring my seat of my body right up to the wall and extend the legs up the wall. Another bit of support you could use here would be a strap around the thighs. So if you take a strap and you kind of really tighten it around your thighs, then you're kind of getting that support so that your legs aren't able to just open out to the sides. And I've heard it said in yoga classes with my various teachers that these kind of inversions are so good for us. Just one aspect is thinking about changing our perspective. So, sort of flipping us upside down. Another way in which it's supportive to the body is that it can help drain our lymph, which doesn't have its own pumping mechanism. So, anytime we can do any sort of gentle inversion. And then also we could think about our thyroid is right here at the base of the neck. So what we're doing is sort of a gentle inversion to help kind of stimulate the thyroid. And of course, I'm not a medical doctor, so these are just things I've heard explained to me by my own yoga teachers. Maybe if you want to make it a little bit more inversiony, you could even slide a pillow or have the block underneath the sacrum. We'll take some nice deep breaths, softening into this shape. You might take a moment to close down the eyes or soften the gaze. Relaxing to the hug of gravity. Now you're welcome to stay here for part or all of your final resting pose, Shavasana, corpse pose. Whenever you feel ready to exit the shape, you might slide your props away from you. If you're on the block, press into your heels to lift your hips. Release the block. You're welcome to come into the shape we started in. Constructive rest, that can be a nice way to have a gentle rest. Maybe if it feels too tender to relax all the way onto your back with your legs stretched out, if that sometimes can be hard for people's low back. Somewhere we forget we had to learn how to walk. We forget how many times we fell. We forget that things take practice. Patavi Joyce reminds us practice and all is coming. St. Francis of Assisi, in his well-known prayer, speaks eloquently to the possibilities of transformation for each human being. Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. The discipline of tapas will mold us into someone of great depth and profoundness if we let it. Can we stand the heat of being dismantled and changed forever by the fire? Can we prepare ourselves daily through our practice, our staying power, and our choices? Can we stay in the burning with integrity? Can we hold on for the blessing? Allow yourself to take some nice deep breaths into your heart space, sensing that intention, your glowing jewel. With each inhale, allow it to fill the body with light. With each exhale, allow it time to soften and fade. When you're ready, you can Bring some movement back into your fingers and toes, gently rotating your wrists and your ankles. And then find a nice long body stretch, reaching the arms overhead. When you're ready, you can roll onto one side. Find yourself in a fetal position. You might cradle your head on your hands. And then go ahead and press yourself up into a seat, any kind of comfortable seat. Allow your hands to meet at your heart center. Go ahead and allow your head to bow towards the wisdom of your loving heart. It's such an honor and a privilege to guide you through your practice this morning. Thank you all so much for joining me, and feel free to let me know if you have any thoughts or questions about class.